Which week 2 games will be most entertaining in 2025? I think this depends on which part of the country you come from, as the second full week of college football has a lot to offer fans from coast to coast. So here are our biggest games in week 2 through an off-season lens. Game 1, Arizona State travels to Starkville. Just north of that, Kansas renews for the first time since 2011 the border war with Missouri. Top 5 Oregon welcomes Oklahoma State to Eugene. And Michigan goes down south to Norman, Oklahoma to take on the Sooners in a fantastic SEC versus Big Ten clash. We start with the game that has the unfortunate potential to be a blowout. Highly ranked in the preseason, Oregon hosts the Oklahoma State Cowboys. The head coach of the Pokes, Mike Gundy, has his hands full, especially coming off a rough 2024 with a 3-9 record, and 9 of those losses all came in a row. A total collapse by the Cowboys out of Stillwater, who haven't found any light at the end of the tunnel and finding their new quarterback. As the spring window came and took 2 QBs, Gundy and his staff turned to Zane Flores and Haas Henne, battling for the position which most likely won't be determined until the end of the summer. But the real concern for the Cowboys on offense are how they transition with a new offensive line, with 4 of the predicted starters coming from the portal. We are obviously pretty far away from this game's kickoff in Eugene to know for sure who will start in the trenches, just like at quarterback, but this area will be the most important for the Cowpokes because they need to match the Ducks physically to keep this game close. In Oklahoma State's backfield, who will have some big shoes to fill with Ollie Gordon moving on to the NFL and top receiver Deshaun Scribbling gone to the portal. Coach Gundy will really have to get the most out of the 2025 Cowboys offense to make it a proper fight. Now, why are we even talking about this game in the Northwest, especially with all the negativity and doubt towards the visitors? Well, we aren't in the mid-1970s, it's the mid-2020s, and Oregon, who at this moment run the West Coast of football on and off the field. So this September contest will be a good indicator of how legit the Ducks will be. Plus, Oregon doesn't play anyone at their level till the end of the month. Boy, that game in Happy Valley is going to absolutely be epic, because the Ducks under Dan Lanning have reloaded to make another college football playoff appearance with a number 4 transfer portal class for 2025, according to 24/7 Sports, where they picked up the top player available in the winter portal. Offensive tackle Isaiah World and the number 11 player safety Dylan Thyman. Lanning and his staff have again done an excellent job this offseason. The 2025 Ducks have another battle in the trenches for starting spots in the offensive line, reinforce their receiving core, which will make it a smoother transition for their new starting quarterback Dante Moore, also shoring up in the secondary like they did in the last portal cycle, because having depth for a longer college football season looks to be more of a guarantee in delivering on high expectations in Eugene. This is all on top of a stellar defensive front 7 who is mostly packed with experienced players and promising talent who will plug the holes for NFL departures. So, Oregon, with all this potential in their lineups, look really bright and should make them favorites again to make the Big Ten championship game. Yeah, this is why this matchup outside of Eugene and Stillwater is bigger than you think. Okay, let's talk about the possible upset in Starkville, Arizona State versus Mississippi State, a rematch from last year's 30-23 scrap in Tempe, and where the Bulldogs almost dug themselves out of a bad first half. We begin with the visitors and reigning Big 12 champions, who also retain a majority of their 2024 starters on offense and defense, but lose their star running back Cam Scatterbo, but replace him with Kanye Udo, a transfer from Army. Kenny Dillingham might have done it again in college football free agency with another great running back. Also, the Arizona State head coach, just like his former boss, Dan Lanning, with bolstering his wide receiver core, brought in competition at the offensive line, and got reinforcements for the Sun Devils secondary. Because college football, again, is a marathon, having the necessary depth can get you back to those championship games in a very good spot in the college football playoff. Plus, having your very talented quarterback, Sam Levitt, back in 2025 increases those odds of retaining their Big 12 title. Just can't wait to watch ASU's QB make defenses look stupid. Now, what would be stupid is not taking their host, Mississippi State, seriously, because the Bulldogs come into 2025 with the 16th ranked transfer portal class. As second-year head coach Jeff Lebby, who finished at the bottom of the SEC last year, has gotten a massive investment from the portal to be more competitive in the upcoming season with players at the offensive line, a revamp of the wide receiver room, and a new quarterback to challenge current projected starter Blake Shapen. So, if Lebby can stop the bleeding of turnovers and defending the Bulldogs' opposition, then expect this game to be close, like the previous edition in 2024, and we'll see if it means more in the SEC September 6th. Game 3 is a revival of a rivalry for its 121st meeting, Kansas at Missouri, the return of the Border War, a series that the Columbia Tigers own with a 3-game lead and where younger college football fans can experience for the first time, especially if you were born after 2012. We start with the Tigers defense, who Missouri fans have the most to look forward to, with 6 starters coming back for 2025, and in 2024 ranked 28th for total yards allowed. Mizzou also got the number 2 transfer portal player from the winter window, Damian Wilson II, who was a former composite 5-star recruit out of Venice, Florida. Wilson played a supportive role in 2024 for his former program, Georgia, and will look to be a standout for Missouri's number 6 ranked transfer portal class, where a lot also comes in for the Tigers defense and head coach Eli Drinkwitz. Now for the team traveling across the border to Memorial Stadium, the Birds of Lawrence, who concluded 2024 beating 3 top 25 opponents, and one of those wins was on the road in Provo, Utah. We'll have to bring that form earlier in the season to have a chance in Columbia. We also talked a bit about the Jayhawks for their Week 0 matchup against Fresno State, where we mentioned some new additions from the portal. So by this point of the season, Coach Leopold would have gotten his lineup straightened out, even though the most difficult part for the Jayhawks this offseason is replacing 10 interceptions from their 2024 secondary lost to the NFL and graduation. But we'll have some returners at the defensive line with Dean Miller, DJ Withers, and Tommy Dunn Jr. So expect this rivalry matchup for Kansas to be close, as half of their games last season ended with a 1-possession score difference. Honorable mentions for Week 2. Kentucky versus Ole Miss, or maybe Kiffin gets the job done. Baylor clashes with SMU for the first time since 2016, and we'll see if the Ponies can end a 13-game losing streak against the Waco Bears. The Iowa State Cyclones welcome their arch rivals Iowa to battle for the Cy-Hawk Trophy. The final game to mention, Boston College heads to East Lansing, and where we maybe witness Michigan State get their first win over the Eagles since Nick Saban's debut season for the Spartans in 1995. The last game for Week 2 has 2 college football giants collide at the Palace on the Prairie, Michigan versus Oklahoma. These programs have only come up against each other in a Orange Bowl for a national title back in 1976, where legendary coaches Bo Schembechler and Barry Switzer faced off and ended with a 14-6 victory for the Sooners. The matchup for 2025 has both sides reshuffling their depth charts due to the NFL draft and college football free agency. So we begin with the away team, the Michigan Wolverines, who love running the ball and bring in the number 1 running back out of the winter portal, Justice Haynes from Alabama, who will pair with redshirt freshman Jordan Marshall this season. Jerome Moore also brought in Bryce Underwood, a true freshman quarterback, and is the projected starter for the 2025 campaign. But waiting in the ranks, Mikey Keene, a transfer from Fresno State, who threw for more than 2,800 yards, which is almost double what Michigan passed for in 2024. Either quarterback should be a massive improvement to moving the ball through the air for the second-year head coach. The Wolverines' defense looks to replace some key figures that helped them make their 2023 run to the national championship, especially at defensive line, with some guys already on campus and some solid portal replacements. Michigan will also have a veteran linebacker core behind them, which should make their fans feel a little bit more optimistic, along with a secondary that had to step up last year with some mid-season injuries, which should be some good ingredients for an under-the-radar run for the program out of Ann Arbor. Which brings us to Oklahoma, who had a harsh reality check in their first season in the Southeastern Conference, and this offseason have made some moves in college football free agency with the number 13 portal class, where the Sooners acquired the number 2 quarterback in the winter window, John Mateer, the former Wazoo Coug, who threw for over 3,000 yards in 2024, rushed for 826 yards on the ground, and had 44 total touchdowns. Mateer should be a great fit in Norman, as long as the Oklahoma coaching staff set their new quarterback up for success and don't throw him under the bus when times get tough. Speaking of buses, Cal running back Jaden Ott, who had a rough 2024, joined the Sooners during the spring transfer window and will hopefully bring his 2023 form this upcoming season. The Oklahoma defense will have 6.5 of their 11 starters return for 2025. This is one of the many reasons this game early in September should be a matchup you cannot miss. So, anticipate venerable Sooners D to play discipline in stopping the Michigan running game, while continuing their top 20 defense from 2024 and joining me in crossing our fingers for this showdown in Norman to deliver a banger. Okay, we'll see you guys again for some more week-by-week previews for the 2025 college football season, and bye-bye for now from the couch.